Hello guys, welcome to our next class. Today we are going to talk about the Flexbox. So before we start, let's look at the documentation of the Flexbox. So I will go to GitHub link, Stack 1, inside the folder second and CSS, and I will look for the document here, right? So here you can see the class 1 to recordings. Now we are going to start the Flexbox. So let's go down, right? Flexbox. So let me quickly read through this, and then we're gonna look at the design, how things work in the, maybe by drawing something, right? CSS Flexbox or flexible box layout module, right? So this is all about layout. In CSS3, layout mode designed to help you arrange items. So is a CSS3 layout, right? So this box layout model is basically implemented in CSS3, and it helps us to arrange item, right, within a container, even when their size is unknown, right, or dynamic. Flexbox aims to provide more efficient way to lay out, align, and distribute space among items in a container. So you need a container, and then you need item inside that container, and there we're going to use Flexbox to arrange that item, right? That is all the Flexbox does. So now there will be properties for the container and the properties for the children. Okay, so that is the main thing, right? If I will just open XLS and draw something, right? So let's say this is a div. Okay, just imagine like this, right? There is a div. I will just write it. Div with container like that. But let's give the class name here, container, right? That is a container div, and now you're gonna have many divs inside. So let's call it one. This is div one, right? Or child div, okay? Or child any element, it does not matter. So this is first one. So just imagine you have 4 or 5 of div, right? The children here, okay? 2, maybe div 3, right? And then you have div 4, correct? So each div, I just put a number, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have any text inside, like heading 1, paragraph, anything. So the point is, I need to close the parent container also, right? So we can close that here. Okay. So if you look at all this, div with container div, inside there is children div. So what happened, right, when we apply flex? So you're going to select the container and then start applying for the display property, right? Display property basically. So what I want you guys to know, right, in this structure, in order to use flex, you're gonna need the parent container and then the child, right? That is what you're gonna need. So if you have something like this, what's gonna happen when you do the display flex? This is a container, and each child, right, will be something like here, arranged like this, right? Normally what happened in element, the block element, right? What happened? You have container and your element will be like aligned like this, right? This is one element, one box, another box, right? Block elements will sit like this. That is the normal document flow, right? But in flex, when you make a display flex, it will be horizontally aligned. So you can have, here you have one column, okay? This is one column, right? But here you have 1 column, 2 column, 3 column, 4 column, right? If there is 4 elements, it will create 4 column. All right. So we're going to look at all this, but just remember one thing. You're going to have parent container, that is, and the child item, right? Or child element. Okay. So when you have these two combinations, you can apply flex to control your child. Okay. So that is the whole idea behind the Flexbox. So let's look at the code now, right? Before we start, you can see flex container. What is flex container, right? The parent element where the flex layout is applied. Okay. It's defined by setting display flex or display inline flex. So this is the two, value, right? Flex or inline flex. Most of the time you will be using flex. Fine. So select the container class and display flex. That is the first thing you will do. What is flex item, right? The child elements inside the flex container. These are automatically adjusted to align and distribute space within the container. So when you make parent flex, the child items will be automatically, adjusted and aligned, right? And also space are distributed within the container. So whatever space is there, the child will try to occupy. But if right child has minimum, let's say minimum content, not enough content, right? So the first child element will be occupying only the size of the content. We can look at that also during the example. So first properties for the parent, right? Flex container, look at here, flex container properties. So what is the first properties? Direction. Flex direction, you can make it row or column, right? So if you look at here, row is default. Left to right, LTR, right? Default. Row is default, left to right, or right to left also in RTL. When you do like column row reverse, you can have right to left. But normally by default, when you do let's say display flex, it will be row by default, row, right? This one by default it will be like this. Okay. And next is column, right? Flex direction column also. That's the column here. So column is this. By naturally it is column, but if you make it flex direction column, then you are allowed, you can apply some other properties of the flex also, right? So that will be useful. Next is justify content. So this is used for, distributing the space, right? Or aligning the children's either in the center or left or, between space, even space evenly, space around, space between, all this property, right? So flex start is the default by nature, right? Wherever the elements start, because it starts from the left corner, right? Top left corner always of the parent. So by default, it is top left corner, okay? Justify content aligns item horizontally by default, right? Or we call it main axis. Also, there is a main axis here, main axis. So justify content center, this is one property, but these are all the value. Flex start and center by default is start. You can choose, right? Depends on our need. You can choose one of the value here. Align items, that is vertical, right? Cross axis or vertically. So you aligning the children vertically, right? Start and center, baseline. Okay, these are some value we can apply, right? Most of the time you will be doing center, and we'll see that in the example, right? So stretch, by default it is stretch, right? To fill the container, okay? Height, because it's vertical, so we talk about height, right? Flex wraps, what is flex wraps now? Defines whether the flex item should wrap or not, right? So if you have many children, right, and there is not enough space to fit on the right side, then it will just wrap here. Okay, it will just wrap, right? So that is called flex wrap. Okay, it will keep moving like this. Okay, so if no space, it will just wrap, right? No wrap is by default, means if you don't apply flex wrap to wrap, by default is no wrap, but you can apply wrap, right? Or also wrap reverse. So wrap reverse will be just in the opposite direction, from bottom to top, multiple line, right? Onto multiple, so flex item will wrap onto multiple lines from bottom to top. That is just opposite of the wrap. Now align content. So when you apply this flex wrap, right, there will be a lot of space between the elements. So you can use align content, align these elements either starting position, end, center. So, after applying this flex wrap, you can use align content also to align your element. So one is align content and other was align item, right? So align item is basically you can use when you are not using flex wrap, right? But this, even if you use this, that does not matter. If you have flex wrap and you need to align element after using flex wrap, the elements will be like scattered, not scattered, but there will be a lot of space between, right? If you have many breakdown, okay, of many line of elements. So to minimize that space, you can align the content, right? So normally you will make aligned content, maybe flex start, right? Lines packed to the start of the container, right? So, if there is space between the element, that's line, right, will be packed at the starting point or at the end or center. So they just, they are just without space, they will be together, right? Also, you can control the order of the element by using order property, right? So item order will be 2 or 1. So normally all elements has order 1, right? Based on document flow means what? Whichever comes first will be the first element, then second element, third element. But you can move the order, right, by using this property. Okay, so you have to select which element by calling its class name and apply this. Then flex shrink, flex basis, flex self, right? Align self. So you can use this property to make your elements grow, shrink. Flex basis is same thing like a width of the element, okay, width, right? In Flexbox, you're going to use flex basis for the width. Align self, one of the element you want to move up, down, center, only one of the element, right? Then you can call align self. So select that element and then use align self and use the value like flex start, end, center, something like that. Okay, so and here is the complete one example, right? So what I will do, I'll just take this example and then we're gonna talk about all the above properties, right? So let's go back here. So in the Flexbox, I will create one index page and place that code, right? I'm gonna need CSS also. So here we have some CSS, right? What I will do, I'm just gonna take that. Let's say item. I will remove this one for now. Let me get rid of that, right? So we're gonna create that, but for item, we're just gonna use this style, okay? So fine. Now I will delete this style and let me call the link tag and select my style. So see, you have item 1, 2, 3. You can add more, right? Does not matter. 4, 5, 6. Okay. So see this item, right? Item class, and there is container. in order, just be clear, right? Always, if you have parent element, you always gonna have some wrapper container, the main container where you wrap the children. You always gonna have, when you structure the web page, right? You're gonna get this situation all the time. Means that is how you design, right? So just think, okay, I'm designing the web page. My situation is I always gonna have the parent and the children, right? Now I need to learn how to align them using flex. That is what we are learning, okay? So this structure you remember, right? Right now everything is div, but they are element, right? They all are element, okay? Item 1 is one element, item 2 is another element, So these are the child element and this is the parent element. Parent wrappings all the children. Clear? So let's go live view and check now, right? You see item 1, 2, 3, 4 because of the CSS what we have there, right? So let me, why I get that language. Okay, so I will minimize and then continue from there. All right, let's continue. Okay, so you can see right now it looks, this is the normal document flow, right? Because block elements will go from top to bottom, okay? And we have 6 elements right now. So we will go back here and then select the container class. Let's do that. Dot container, right? Dot container, CONTAINER, right? Okay, that is fine. So display flex. Just pay attention now. Soon I do display flex, right? You see now, this is what happened. All the elements now, move in one row, right? So how many columns are there? 6 columns. I mean, we can container is the main element, right? Container is the main element, the parent element. So if I just give a border, right? 5 pixel solid red, okay? So see, that is the container. That's the container, right? And all the childrens are aligned in one row. See, this is, I mean, sometimes you gonna need this, right? You want to add elements in one row. Simple. Just select the parent and display flex. Okay. So there is a padding margin, right? I mean, because of the margin, you see the space between them. So if I remove this margin, see that? You don't see now space, right? You don't see any gap between them. Okay. So that's why there was a margin, but for now I will leave the margin. So you can see the difference, right? Let's make it 5 pixel only. So there is a margin in each element, top, bottom, left, right, 5 pixel. Because in the center, right, they have 5 to 5, 5 plus 5, that is 10 pixel for left and right box. Okay, so it looks little bigger, right, in the center. But anyway, you get the point now. These are the box. Inside the box there is a padding all around 20. Margin is there outside of the box, that is 5 pixel. Flex grow 1, flex shrink 1, and flex base is 100, right? So this is a width 100, like if I even give a width, right, 100 pixel, it's same. Okay, it's same, right? If I make it, let's make it 200 pixel width. Let's see, I have to make it big, right? So it can grow, okay? It can grow, it can shrink, but minimum width is 200 pixel, minimum width, right? You can make it big also, like 300 pixel, but the minimum is 300, okay? You just go down, right? But it can grow also more than that. So if I make just width of maybe 100 pixel, how much is that? That's the 100 pixel, right? But it can grow and shrink because of this property, right? So we can talk that later, but for now, let me get rid of this, right? Also, so that it will be better to understand. Now it will not grow or shrink. It just, it's shrinking to the closest item, right? And the box is this much size because of the padding. Remember that padding will increase the size inside, right? That's why. But it just that much size of our, it will grow up to the 100 pixel, okay? That's the highest, right, width. And then we have padding and margin also, right? If I remove the padding, save it, it looks something like this, right? Look at that. There is no, height on top and bottom. And if you make it maybe a little less, let's make it 50 pixel, right? See that? The box is just like that. Okay. The width, right? So let's add padding, and then, because you have to understand, okay, how each children is behaving, right? That is important. Everything when you structure, right? If you have clear picture how each element behaves, okay, then you will be easily configure, right? You can arrange, align all these things easily, or basically you know what to do, right? Or you're gonna have an idea if something is not working properly, then you know what is the wrong, okay, what is happening there. So all about width, right, and the padding, margin, these are the few things you have to look at. So let me transfer this back to the flex basis. That is what we use in a flex box, and that is all about width. Fine. So we understand each children now, how it behaves without padding, without margin, all that, right? The width of each children will be only the size of the content by default, right? By default, when you make display flex to the parent, the children will be only size of the content, okay? But we assign, right? We give some, like we are giving some fixed size. The box will be at least 100 pixel, but we can make it also to grow and shrink, right? Based on the container size. If the container grow or shrink, okay, the children will also grow and shrink, right? But right now we have not applied, so it cannot grow or shrink. It will be only minimum to this size, right? The children will be only, each children will be this much size, okay? 100 pixel right now. Okay, so just play around with this example, right, and try to understand this, okay? First is how you make this in one row. That is the first thing. So let's look at the next properties now. That is the flex direction container properties, right? So you're gonna go here and call it flex direction. So you can have row is by default, right? I explained that. Then you have column. So mostly you're gonna use row or column, right? Soon I make column. Look at here. Now childs does fall below, right? Okay. So its minimum width is what? 100 pixel, but it did not work here, right? When I make flex direction column, Now child grow all the way to the largest size, right? So if I remove, normally you're not gonna use this flex basis, right? But it's there, okay? Look at that. So one thing we have to understand, right? I forgot to tell this flex basis, this thing, right? If you make a width, let's make it 200 pixel and just pay attention, okay? That's the width. Right now, each child is 200 pixel. So if I flex basis, let's make it 200 pixel. See the difference between the using flex basis and the width. This is one of the confusing part, right? But I'm gonna tell you now. When you use width, that is only the width of the element, okay? No matter what, right? Either column or row, it will only affect the width. But based on flex basis, this is a width, but as the axis change, right, means see same element now in the column, right? In one column, the flex basis will increase the height of the children, okay? Height. But if you have here row, right? Let's say this is row by default, but if you have row here, row is by default, but you can even write, right? Does not matter. Now the flex basis will affect the width, this width, right? Horizontally. Okay, so now it will be 200 pixel width, right? Clear? The maximum is 200 pixel now. That's the horizontal. But soon you make it column, right? Now the width will be, the flex basis will be vertically. Each element vertical height increase, right? But and the horizontal will be 100%. See that? So this is one of the confusing part to understand in the Flexbox, okay? So that is the difference, right, between the, what you call that, the width and the flex basis. So it recommends to use flex basis, not the width. All right, so that is, and if you just remove, right, then it will be normal, it does not matter. It will be just whatever the height, normal height of this box, right? Clear? Fine. So now we understand the column. There is column reverse. We are row reverse. The next one is, let me remove this now, right? Remove this. The next one is justify content. So if I save now, it will be like this. Justify content, right? So this is the horizontal arrangement of the element. So right now, if this is this much space, right? All align on the left side. That is by default flex start. You can make it flex end. So it will just move to the end, right? So you have space on the left side. You can have center. So all element will be in the center, right? So you have space on the left and right. You can have space between, space around, and space evenly, right? So if I make a space between, so all space are added between the elements, and you have, it looks something like this, okay? So same thing with the space evenly, space all around, right? So you're gonna need this to move element horizontally. One thing, when you have flex direction row, then this is horizontal. But if I make flex direction column, then this will be vertical movement. Save this. Look at here now, right? So vertical movement, but you don't see moving, right? Because my container does not have enough space, height, right? So I will make height of 100%, 100 screen height or view height, right? Now look at here. So see, space between, justify content, space between is moving all the children, space between the child, right? Basically space are added between the child. If you just do flex start, it will be on the top, right? Flex end, This is one of the also confusing part you have to remember. Soon you change direction to column, then this will be moved to vertical, and align item will be horizontal, right? So if I need to move it to the center, or maybe let's call it center, right? Very center. See, now all the children's move to the center. You can move this also, justify content, center. Now they are in the center. So this is also one thing, you use align items and justify content to move the child element in the center also. So you have to use this behavior right here. So if I remove this direction, it is center. Because we have align item center and justify content center. So in this case, justify content is horizontal. Remember that justify content is horizontal. So if I remove this now, right, and it will be look like this. Okay. If you want to put that element in the center, you have to apply vertical center. So that is align item center, right? That is vertical. So they are just opposite. Okay, depends on the column and row, right? In case of column, this will be vertical and this will be horizontal. In case of row, right, when the elements are in the row direction, then this will be horizontal and this will be vertical movement. And all properties are same, like flex start, flex in, center, just remember that. So these two will be the one of the most used case for you, right? Display flex and this one. Okay, sometimes you're going to use flex direction column also. That is also you're going to use, right, sometimes. Okay, so during our the layout class, which we're going to start from tomorrow, we will be using this in every project, right? So just prepare for that. All right, so that is done. Next is what? Okay, let me remove this for now, right? Let me remove this. So it looks something like this, because I have what? Display flex, fine. Because there is a lot of height, that's why, remember, if there is a height, the child will expand, right? Vertically all the way to the bottom. Okay, let's see next properties. We look at the flex direction, we look at justify content, we look at the align items, we look at the flex wrap. So let's do that. Flex wrap will be wrap. Normally that is what you're going to do, right? So when you wrap, there is not enough space. So let's go back and look at here. I mean, there was enough space to all fall in same line, but soon you bring it down, it wrapping, right? So I cannot go more. I have to maybe inspect and check, right? You can see it's wrapping. Okay, I don't know how to move this. Man, yes, look at that. So this is looks like a responsive now, right? That is the behavior of flex wrap. Okay, if you do flex wrap reverse, right, also, so it will be just opposite way, so the 5, just from the bottom, right, it will start wrapping from the bottom. So 6 is on the end. See that? All right, so that was the flex wrap. There is one important one, flex gap, right? What is gap? Oh, so you're gonna have flex, means space between the element, okay, the child element, right? So let's make it 20 pixel. So we have a space between the child now, right? And because we remove that flex wrap, that's why it's not wrapping, but there is a space between the child. So let me remove the height also, right? So that it will be easy to understand what I'm saying here. See, even there is a margin, right? 5 pixel. Now we have 20 pixel gap between the children. If I make it 30, the gap is increased 30 pixel, right? That is the gap. The gap will be horizontal and vertical, right? Gap, you can make it gap X, I think. Let's see. I think it's, what was the, even I forgot the property, right? Let me check quickly here. Yeah, I think I didn't add that. Flex wrap is there, flex reverse, start end. Okay, align content, fine. Space around, order, flex ring, flex basis, all for children, right? So you can see flex item properties, but there is one for now. Just remember gap. There is a gap for x-axis and gap for y-axis. Okay, so just use gap, and whatever the space you add, right, it will be applied in x-axis and y-axis, horizontal and vertical both. Okay, so just remember that. What else we have? Now the let's look at here. So align items, we have done that. Flex wrap, we did that. Align content, right? Yeah. So this will be, you're going to use when you have flex wrap. Okay, and the value will be flex start, end, center, space between, space around. That's the align content. Because when you have flex wrap, right, the elements, if you have, there is a lot of content, element will be moved down, and you're gonna get space between each line of the element, right? A lot of space. So to get rid of that, line content property is used. Okay, so order will be the order of the item, right? Like children. So let's look at here. I will just put one, maybe let's make it item 6, right? Class. And I'm going to order this in the first position. Okay, so item 6 is there, so I will just call dot item 6 and order, make it 0, right? And see what happens. Okay, did I make wrong class name? That's okay. The item 6, but why is not working? Let's see, item 6, right? Something is not correct. Something is not correct, guys. Okay, so dot item 6, that's what I applied, and order property, make it let's make it -1, right? Okay, it moved now. Look at here. So -1 will bring it to the 0 is normal, right? All has 0. Okay, and if I put 1 here, what gonna happen? So it's normal, right? All is, I mean, basically now you have to apply for other element also. Okay, unless you're gonna make it like go from 0 below, right? If I put 0 or 6, nothing happened. But if I go -1, right? So now 0 below 0, so that is starting point now. Okay, so I just move this one -1, right? So it depends now how you're going to arrange. Okay, if I go back and add other elements also, like order 1 2 3, I can do that, right? Like, let's keep it this, let's make it O1, or maybe I can make this O5, right? Like that. So the first element, that is O5, and order 2, maybe 3 position, right? So I don't have 2, so I don't know if that will be okay. But the first one, look at here, 3 means highest, right? As long as it's more than 1 2, even if I put 1, let's make it 2, right? Not 1 but 2, right? So it moves to the end, see, because all is normal, right? Like all is 0 or 1. But if you make order higher, right, then it will just cross everything, move to the last. But if you take 3 and give order maybe 4, like that, then that will move to the last. Okay, and 0 below 0, right, will be starting point, means it will just go behind, right? So that's how order work. The next thing is, this one also you're not going to use most of the time, right? Only you have to remember is, display flex and align item, justify content, and gap. Okay? The first 2 or 3 element, right? Or property, sorry, property, you have to remember. Flex direction, that is the first one. Justify content and align item. And gap also, remember the gap, okay? That will good enough to do our job for now, right? So the children, let's look at a couple of children properties. So you have order, we have looked at that. Flex grow and flex shrink. Why we add that? Because we want to make our element responsive, right? Means it should grow if there is space, right? If there is space, lot of space here on the right side, so let our children fill that space, right? So that is flex grow, right? So flex grow, let's make it, give it 1, right? That is dynamic, so it will grow automatically. See, you can see now, right? It can grow automatically. So you want to add opposite of grow, that is shrink also. Let element shrink to the lowest position. Flex shrink, also give it 1, right? So it can shrink also to its minimum size. So it can grow and it can shrink easily, right, to the minimum width. So that is the grow and shrink. Flex basis, we understand that already. Align self, right? So let's take one example here. This element, you can align it to the bottom, left, right. I mean, not left, right, but horizontally you can move it, right? So item 6, I will select and align self. Let's make it flex end, right? Flex end, okay? But right now, you're not going to see the difference because we don't have height, right? I'm going to increase the height of my container. So here in the container, I will say height to, let's make it 600 pixel only. Now look at here. That 6 align self to the bottom, right? So all moves, all is stretch. By default, it is stretching, right? But we just move this one to the bottom and it looks something like this. So align center, align self, you can do all that. I mean, you can just make it align center. No, let's just center, right? Not align, but center, right? It is in the center. Flex start is by default, flex start by default. But it will just not stretch, okay? You move the whole element, right? Now you can add some height. You want to add height, maybe let's make it 300 pixel and see what happens. So it looks something like that. So what we learned is, using Flexbox, we can control our element, right, inside. It's difficult to digest all this at one time. So we're going to use this flex and all the properties what we have learned so far, right, in the CSS. Okay, whatever we have learned, the basic like box model, how you select elements with ID and class, right? Common properties like text, display. Okay, fine. Let's leave it. So you have text, font family, couple of more properties, right? I will talk about a few more properties, important one, as we progress. So from tomorrow we're gonna look at the design pattern, and in between also I'm gonna talk about some more properties, important properties of CSS. All right, guys. So I believe let me stop here. Only thing from today class, what you can learn, right? In order to arrange element, you're gonna need container, the parent element or parent box, and there will be children, right? So always remember, if you need to use a flex, you must have parent container and the child element. If you can figure out that behavior, right? And then for the parent element CSS or properties, and the child, some of the child element, right? So that is the key to understand here. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I will see you in tomorrow class.